back in Avid Media Composer. Now it's time to start putting my clips in order here. So I loaded this first clip in here, and I'm going to take this sub clip that I made in the previous tutorial where they're doing the flips here, and I'm just going to pick T and make a mark in point and out point. I'm just going to make like a little trailer of tricks going on here with this parkour footage. I want to splice in my clip. So now notice I need to know where this blue indicator is. That's where my first clip is going to go. Wherever that indicator is where the first place is going to go. So this is called 3-point editing. In point, out point, which I have here, and the blue indicator, which is the third point, which is splicing in now, which is what I'm going to do. So I made an I and O in the source monitor, which I already did, in point and out point. Now I can either drag it in or I can hit the splice button, which is right here between the source and the record, and it's that yellow arrow going to the right. And I'm going to press that and it's going to splice in. And if I drag this all the way to the beginning at my indicator and play it, you're going to see that trick. That's that first clip with the in point and out point. That was spliced in. The shortcut for splicing is the letter V. So if I take another clip, let me go to my parkour footage that I have in my Macintosh HD bin. And let me press around the corner here, and let me find a spot where a trick is going on. There's a trick going right here. I'll make in point, play it. Right when he makes the jump, I'll make an out point. My indicator is at the end of the clip. I'll press the splice in button or the letter V, and it goes right after the clip. And notice we have only one track of audio on this clips. Whoever was recording this didn't record two tracks. There should be another one underneath, but unfortunately there's not. But we have a video above it. So that's what we have to do. You know, you want to always make sure that your footage is in order, that you're splicing in the correct spots. After we splice, we want to overwrite. You know, how do we take something over? We're splicing everything. And another thing, even before I splice, say if I taken another clip and I made an in point and out point here. Let me just make any random in point and out point, I and O. And if I take this clip and I drag it to the timeline without releasing, notice a 4-monitor display appear. Now if I put this between the clip, right now the last clip on the screen is my new clip, right? Is right there is where it begins and where it ends. That's my middle two. All the way to the right, to the left, excuse me, that first clip is the first clip on the timeline and where it ends. My clip all the way to the right is my second clip on the timeline where it begins. So it kind of helps you when you're dragging to look at this 4-point display to help you out where you're going to drop it if you decide to drag it on the timeline. So now I want to overwrite. So let me grab a new clip here. Crossing the street, I'll try that one. And yes, this is a very neat trick here. This the gentleman here crossing the street. I just made any random in and out point. And now there's a couple of ways to do it overwrite. There's two ways. I made an in and out point on a clip. Now on my source here, on my timeline, I want to mark in on a clip. So I'm going to mark it in the middle of this. I'm just going to make an I. I place my indicator there. And now I want to place my indicator on the timeline where I did, and I'm going to leave it there. And now I'm going to press the overwrite button. And you could see what happened. It took over the length of where I made that in and out point in my record, and it took over that same amount on the timeline. So it cut the footage in half, basically. It took over that same amount of length. So it was still 3-point editing. There was still 3 points. It was 2 points on the source, 1 on the record, and it took over for whatever length of that clip that I made the in and out point. That's how much it took over on the timeline. I'm going to Command Z and undo, and I'm just going to undo my last few things here. And what's another way to do an overwrite? I'm going to make an in and out point on my timeline here, and notice in blue. Now what I have in blue is what is going to be overwrite. I'm going to still keep whatever is not in blue. Notice on that first clip, whatever is not in blue is going to stay on my timeline. So now I need to go to a new clip. I'll go to climbing, and I'll just get our gentleman friend just climbing the wall here. And all I'm gonna do is make an endpoint. That's it. And it's only gonna take over when I hit this red override button right over here. Override is in red. It's that red arrow going to the right, or the shortcut for override is the letter B. Whatever I do now, it's only gonna, whatever is in that source, it's gonna start where I made the endpoint, but it's gonna end only on the length of blue that I have on the timeline. So let me hit that override button. And there it is. Notice on my timeline, now I have that climbing footage on the timeline, and it's only the length of what was in blue. And that's how you override something. Now, still working with when we're inserting clips here on the timeline, say if I need to take something out, like notice right here, I have a little bit of the less, just right here, I have this little piece right here where I'm covering my indicator on of just no one's there, no one's around. So I can do something called extract. And extracting is removing the material from the timeline and closing the gap left by its removal. So how do I extract? Let me make an in point where that little clip begins and an out point where that clip ends. And notice it went in blue. Now, my extract button is the yellow arrow going up on the timeline, or the shortcut for extracting is the letter X. If I press that button, notice it deleted, but it didn't leave a gap. It pushed everything that was after it to the left. And now you don't need to make any changes. There's no skip and there's no jump cut. Let me undo what I just did. Command Z. And let me clear my in and out points by pressing the letter G. And now let me make another in and out point on that clip that I want to delete. And what happens if I want to lift something out? And lifting means removes material from the timeline and leaves video black to fill the gap. So now what I want to do is press the red arrow up on the timeline where I have my cursor right now, and if I press that button, it's going to leave a black space there, right? There's a black space, so clip, and if I play it, it goes black, and then it's going to play the next clip. You might want to leave it black because maybe you want to break from your footage, or maybe you're unsure of what you want to put there, so you leave a black space for now. And that's how you would lift and extract something out of the timeline. Now, when you're lifting and extracting, you're doing anything with changes like that, I highly recommend that you zoom in. Notice on the bottom of my timeline, if you if you drag your slider here to the right, it's going to zoom in more. If I drag it to the left, it's going to zoom out more. So please remember when you're doing anything with editing to zoom in a little bit and make this footage a little bit easier for yourself to see. And that's some basic steps on how to put your clips on the timeline in Avid Media Composer.